Hey everyone, welcome to Full Throttle Driving Academy. I'm Brian.
I'm Danna.
Husband and wife team sharing 991.2 Cup Car at Willow Springs.
Who are we coaching today?
Today we're coaching my lovely bride in...
Me?
Yeah, she kicked ass. She did a 124.5 lap in this session. We're going to go...
At Willow Springs.
At Big Willow. We have a lot of traffic. This is the time trial group with Porsche Owners Club. Open passing. This is not going to even be a super clean lap because of some traffic, but she still did great. And I want to start, we'll do a flyer and we'll kind of narrate it and just talk and ad lib a little bit. Then we'll pause it. I thought we could pause it and break it down and I can annotate it and we can like draw arrows on the screen and stuff and try to figure out how to get her from a 124 down to a 122. That would be our goal.
No, I want a 119. 18.
All right.
118.
Yeah. Okay. You can do it. It can be done.
I know.
All right.
With a good coach.
It means you have to have a lot of pucker factor going into turn 8. You should be going 145. Okay. Anyway, so we're on the out lap. Traffic. I did want to point out there's the black car up here is going to do a very bad move and cut her off. Really, really bad, dangerous move. I don't know who that is, but we're going to have to talk to that person. But that's just for everyone watching, you know, be more aware that this is time trial. You're all going for clean laps. When you see a cup car coming behind you, and you should know the lap times of the people, because this is not the first session of the day, just be a little bit more cognizant, please, because that was a near collision.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if people aren't watching, and obviously people aren't always watching the mirrors, because I just did that, but I just, blew by him. He knew that I was a faster car, and he wasn't paying attention. If I hadn't seen that coming, I would have run right into his hand.
He should have held his line and done a inside line on turn 3. So here she is, she's setting up turn 9. She's going to be going around 93, 97, 98, 99, 100. So good track out. She's going to hit the left tire on that little arrow. That's great. She'll probably get close to 150 at the end of the straightaway. So where does she turn in? She turned in a little early, a little crabbing. I told her to get early because it's banked in here, but we didn't want to crab. I'll talk about that a little bit. Great track out, good acceleration. Fifth gear.
Is this where you start coaching?
Hold it. Not quite, kind of like live fast coaching. Now watch her speeds here. She's going to get hovering right around 100. That's great. 94, 95. Now it's just creep on. A little narrow there, a little tight. Great track out though, good acceleration. She needs to get a little bit more to the right here. A little bit more before she turns in down to 3rd. Tiny bit more patience. Full throttle up the hill. Good braking. Now she's going to have a very creative line here.
Creative.
I don't know what you were doing there.
I don't know either.
That apex was missed.
Man.
And then this apex too, it's like 20 feet to your left. Anyway, okay. Over the hill, pretty good. Now we're going to see how fast. Now there's some short shifting going to happen here.
Wait, can I ask you a question? Can you pause it for a sec? On this is turn 8 at Willow, and it's a pucker turn, just like 2, 8, 9's a pucker turn too. They all 3 are.
Yeah.
And there aren't that many corners at Willow. But on this one, I know you're going to make fun of how slowly I'm going, but how fast do you go through this? And your best is what, a 117?
118.
18.
118.
So,
High 118.
And that's flying, obviously.
Right.
But so how fast do you go through turn 8?
Barely lift. It's almost full throttle all the way through.
That doesn't tell me how fast. What if you were coasting into it?
Where you're at 139 right now, I'd be at 146.
Okay.
140 and all the way through, never below 140. So again, a 142, 143 range. So, and that's we're going to work on this because your entry speed is actually great. You're going 139. Now you're going to lift a little bit. You get down to 127. We know for a fact you can hold no less than 135. Like you will not have to ever go below 135 in this car again at this track, no matter how bad the tires are.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
Also, pause it for 1 second, just to throw this in there. If you have somebody like a Brian who can drive your car on that same track and show you the limits, it's so helpful. We don't have another seat in our car because it's whatever. And when he used to take me through and I'd drive right seat while he was driving, it gave me so much confidence. The car is going to stick. Right. So yeah, if you could do that, great, do it.
Right. That's a good point. So here she comes around, good apex, tracks all the way out, good exit speed. And, even with traffic here, she's going to stay on the inside, across the finish line, and you can see the Garmin 124.47. So that's phenomenal. She did win, by the way, the time trial championship last year. Did want to point that out. I got a trophy to prove it. This is like the biggest trophy I've ever seen for a club. Usually you get a ribbon or like a little sticker. This
was
is a
very
pretty
kind of them.
pretty nice heavy chalice. We could fill it with some adult beverages. Nice.
That was nice. Thanks, POC.
That was great. Okay, now let's break this lap down. So first of all, what are you thinking here on your
wait,
your
are
outlet?
you breaking it down starting at turn 1 or turn 4?
I'm having you're getting in your head before you're on a flyer because you're behind the 1, 2, 3 slower cars. You know you got.
So we've already gone through 1 and 2.
No. This is the out lap before the fast lap.
Okay.
So this is I basically recorded like 1.5 laps. This is between turns 2 and 3.
Okay, so you're asking what I'm thinking.
You're going for your fast time, right?
Yeah.
Like this is time trial, so you know the lap you're on right now is a throwaway.
So what I'm thinking right now is, dang, there are 2 cars right here, and they're closer than they look.
Yeah.
And I think there was another car in front of them, and then the black car, Porsche something, just cut me
GT3,
off.
yeah.
GT3 cut me off, and now I'm thinking, how do I get around this guy?
This actually
and,
worked.
And he's holding me up. He's slowing my time.
He's driving the middle of the track. This guy should be in the point by group. Honestly, Porsche should not.
At least I got to do good lines because I was going slowly.
So he's holding up. This actually worked to your favor because he's so slow that the other cars in front, the car that was going to kind of hold you up, this other Cup car, which you were way faster than, they're way up the road now. So I think you're going to get a pretty clean lap because of this black GT3, which finally just stays right and lets you by. All right, so now what are you thinking? You get by him.
Yeah, I gotta go by it. So that means I have to go around him on the outside in turn 8, which is a pucker turn anyway.
You're still before 8. Here's 8 right here. So now
sounds better to say I went around him on the outside in 8.
No, I know that's true. I noticed you slowed way down here. So you're like going 119 on your fast lap. You're at this point you're going about 132. So are you preparing for your hot lap here? Like, do you know? You clearly are not going nearly as fast as you mentally can do. So why are you setting it up, or why are you? I guess I'm trying to ask, why are you so fucking slow? No, just kidding.
I would love to say I am so savvy that I'm setting it up and trying to get the perfect line and all that, but I think there was a pucker factor because I did just pass that GT3.
Yeah.
And I know there are a couple other cars ahead of me, and I'm just kind of like, guy, if I had this track to myself.
Well, now you're picking up the pace, and you get that's a good line where you are right now. This is what this is better than what you do on your fast lap. You're wider and you're setting up a later apex, and you have much more rotation. See how the car right now is pointed here? Mm-hmm. On your fast lap, you're down lower and you're pointed like here.
Oh, really? Okay.
So you got better rotation further back. You were wider to enter. You're aimed this way. By the time you get to apex, you're going to be able to get to throttle sooner and track all the way out. So this actually sets up a good lap. Now you're going way too slow here. I know it sounds crazy, but 92 at this point in the track is
what would you be at
least 100.
Same car. Okay.
Yeah. So probably 102, 103. By the time you hit apex, probably 110 to 113, something like that. So you can go quicker here. And see your throttle? Your throttle's at like 50 or 60%. This is where you can really start to get a little bit more assertive with the throttle. You could be more like 70, 80. And by the time you get to apex, you're definitely going to be at full throttle.
Okay.
Definitely.
And also it's hard because we don't have a speedometer on our dash that shows your speed at the time. So you can tell me you should be going through turn blank at blank. And if I had a speedometer, I would do it, but I don't.
It's impossible. You need to have speed sensing capability.
Yeah.
Just, your vestibular system, your eyes, your ears, your brain, your butt.
Can you at least say maybe I was on bad tires or something and that's why I'm so slow?
Sorry. No, they're good. All right. Here's Tyler. I can't take this right now. Sorry. Okay. Let's come out of this corner and see. Good.
So now we're coming
good
out of the
checkout.
straight.
Great. Your left front tire hit that little arrow. That's what we want. And
I still have traffic ahead. I hate that.
But this is good. Now you brake. Now here's what I don't want to see. Oh, that dog is knocking. Okay, so
I'm always the example for what you don't want to see.
You're turning the wheel. See your steering angle? It's very minor. It's like this.
Okay.
That's called crabbing. You haven't actually initiated a turn yet. You're kind of cheating over. If I back this up just a little bit, you're cheating the corner. It's called crabbing. I just wrote an article about this for NASA.
I have a feeling this is kind of an important point too,
This
because
is.
turn one is one you've been on me for a while.
Yeah, you want to get in early on turn one because it's really heavily banked. So anytime you can take advantage of banking, you want to get in it and use it. But you don't want to
explain that just a little further. Peel that onion a tiny bit.
Yeah, when you see how banked it is when you get in it, I'll say more about it. But you don't want to cheat the corner. Your hands right now are straight, right? Look at them, perfectly straight.
Yeah.
But watch, you just started turning your hands to the left.
Okay.
It's 5, 2, 3 degrees, not much. But now look, 5 degrees to the left. You started to arc the car and just kind of like, you're kind of drifting toward the corner. You want to go straighter, longer, because you want to get all your braking done with your hands perfectly straight. You don't want to be turning slightly and then be braking. You want to go deeper in this corner. You're at 150, perfect. You want to brake as threshold braking, right before ABS kicks in. The only way to find that is to make ABS kick in and then back it off slightly, right? Yep. Which you already know, you're great at braking. But you don't want to be cheating your hands very slightly. You want to wait and then be more decisive. You want to wait.
Okay.
Decisive.
So here's my thought process, and everybody might want to hear this, because you were telling me that I was braking too late on turn one. So after you told me that, I started trying to brake earlier, which means turning in earlier.
Well, no, it doesn't mean turning in earlier.
Who'd have thunk?
It just means you were braking initially because you're a very late braker. You were braking and you were going way up here, and then you were turning in really late.
Yeah.
And you were missing the apex by 10 feet. And that was slowing you down by
9.
at least a half a second, right? Now I said, turn in a little earlier, but that doesn't mean cheat and gradually turn in. It means decisively turn in earlier.
Gotcha.
Meaning you can still brake later than you did here.
Okay.
And you don't need to trail brake much because see how it's already sloped downward. This is banked. So you don't need much trail braking because you're going to have a lot of front end grip. That's why this corner is so fun. And look at when you get to apex, it's really banked. But you don't want to just cheat over. You want to be more decisive and get down to the apex. So that's what we'll call that. Don't be a crab. Don't crab. So now you're down there so early. And it's not that you're just early. You're pointed this way. I'd rather have you have turned in later and be pointed this way.
Agree. I would have rather that too.
Yeah, good. Now, why do I say this? Why does it matter? Because you're 81 miles per hour. If you had done a later apex and you'd been oriented, you could be at 91 at this point.
Yeah,
and full 10 miles per hour faster.
Here's where I want to make a point that was an epiphany for me a lot of years ago. But in performance driving school or something like that, they teach you that the apex means getting as close as you can to the apex.
Right.
It is not getting as close as you can to the apex. It's getting as close as you can while oriented in the proper direction. Right. And that's huge. Nobody told me that. I had to discover that.
Because you're at apex, like an instructor.
Yeah.
A beginner student would be taught, okay, you're great. Your left front tire's at apex. Problem is, where are you pointed?
Wrong direction.
You're pointed way, way, way off the track.
Yeah.
You'd rather be pointed this way, which means you needed to back it up and rotate more at the beginning of the corner, turn sharper at the beginning of the corner, and get most of the rotation done before you get to this apex so you can blast up the hill at full throttle.
Okay, Krabby. So this is turn one.
Yeah, and now you get a good recovery. See how it's so banked. I mean, you're coming up the hill now, and then it flattens out as you exit. You're going 85. You track all the way out. That's really nice. You have 2 more feet to play with, but I'm not going to squabble with you on that. And you're already back up to 103. So that's actually a quick corner. You can go 10 miles per hour faster.
Oh my
but
God, that's a lot.
It is, because think about it. Now you have a short straightaway, and it's downhill. This is really steep downhill. Most people don't even know that. But this is where you can gain a ton of speed if you get a quick exit on 1. That's why I think 1, probably the most underrated corner on the track.
All right.
If you're
more
in
than 8?
I think 1, because if you're in a spec Boxster, everyone's going full throttle through turn 8. You don't lift at all in a Boxster. But in turn 1, that's the balls corner in a Boxster. It's how fast can you go through 1, and then you carry all the speed down the hill toward 2, and then it's all about how fast can you enter on turn 2. So this corner is actually quite underrated, I think, number 1. And you have a good exit here. You need to get back to the left. You can get over a little more to the left here. And then what I want you to do, here's what you're doing now. You're not angling the car down the hill. And why I don't want you to angle it, you want to angle the car so the front right tire hits about here.
So I need to be more like this than I am.
Well,
right?
look at the track. Is this banked?
Yeah, a little bit.
Heavily.
Yeah.
Heavily banked down. So you want to get in the bank and use it, because when you get in here, you gain a tremendous amount of grip, like right here. So instead of pointed here, I'd rather have you turn the wheel a little bit more to the right, kind of aim this way.
Yeah. Okay. I get it.
And then brake, straighten your
But I have
hands.
to be further left in order to point it that way. Yeah.
Left, angle in, straighten hands,
Feel
light
or throttle.
Light long brake.
Okay.
Not hard brake, light
But
soft.
that's where I can get on the
brake.
throttle at the apex.
Yeah,
faster.
and you have a good entry speed. Like, okay, so you're going to 112. You still didn't even drop below 100, and this is really nice. This is like where you want to be. And you're actually really carrying a lot of speed through here. So you're still at 97. And you did drop a little too much there for some reason.
This is scary.
Yeah. I think the problem with this is you're just a little too far on the inside. Okay. You don't need your right front tire.
No,
you can
and
be
if anything,
out
I
here.
should be over on the left and coming this way,
Right.
hit the apex, track out.
You should kind of let the car drift out in the middle of this corner and then arc it a little sharper so that you can kind of make it a late apex as you come out of here. So you don't need to hug the inside quite so tight. But you do pick up the throttle, like right there is the cone. That's where you can really start getting on full throttle, which you do. And our AM isn't showing that.
The braking thing says I'm full brake, but I'm not.
No, it's grayed out. The throttle's grayed out too, but when it's grayed out, it means you're at full throttle. The AM isn't recording it for some reason. But this is a really nice track out. Now here's what we want to do is get back further to the right. You stopped moving to the right.
Well, those dumb cars are in my way, and I'm thinking about it. There's somebody on my hiney.
We want you parallel to here. So you straightened your hands. You just need to let the car drift a little bit more, because you want to make this corner a really wide, late, turn in so you can blast up the hill, because now you have to get accelerated up this hill. But look how banked it is.
Yeah.
See this?
Yeah.
So you want to come in,
Full
you want to start
throttle,
turning in about here, go late. By the time you get to that apex, you want to be pointed up the hill and see how fast you can get to full throttle. So you're pinching the corner off a little bit on the entry because you're a little too far to the left.
Yeah.
So this is going to compromise 2 or 3 miles per hour. So you got down to 64, 60. Now, because you had to lift to let the car continue to rotate, you slowed down to 60. You could probably hold 64 or 5 if you'd just done a later apex.
Okay.
And then coming up the hill, full throttle, good. This is one I don't understand. So
You don't understand what I did.
I'm like,
I
okay,
missed my apex.
it's right here.
I know, and I'm
See
way
this?
over there.
That thing's called an apex.
Yeah.
And normally you want to try to get close to those.
At the right angle. There was probably somebody
Usually.
on my hiney. Maybe I was getting pulled over by a cop. I mean, I don't know.
I was going to say, like, you're braking up the hill look great. And you're like, okay, you tap the brake. Let's see what you do. You tap the brake here. Let's see. Yeah, you gave it a very little tight little dab of brake there.
Okay.
You need to go a little deeper at full
Brake
throttle and a
harder.
little harder brake.
Okay.
And the reason you need hard brake is to get the car to pivot. The brake will make the front end dig in, put more weight to the front, and then it will rotate. So you want to use the brake to turn the car at the top of this hill. So we need a little more commitment to throttle, a little harder brake. And the reason you don't finish the turn and miss the apex is because you didn't brake enough.
And I'm
And
way too
then
low.
now you're turning the wheel really, really hard, but it's going to push.
Yeah.
And then you're waiting forever to get to throttle because, again, the car didn't finish rotating. So you have to be really super patient here. And then I think you just decide that apex doesn't matter. Here we go. Yeah, it's like you can't even see the cone. It's out of the view.
Shut up.
But I think you point out one cool part about this. It's not about driving the line. It's about driving the limit. You can totally screw up a corner like this and still get a 124 if you're going really fast. And you were going really fast. Like you're still almost at the limit.
I was paying attention to them.
And then you cover well. You're all the way to the left. Most people are afraid to do that.
Well, I've dropped a wheel there. I've spun out there. It's scary.
You want to be right there. That's perfect. And then you want to go to fourth down the hill, but the key with this downhill section is you want to hold full throttle until the last moment, and then you threshold brake. But you want to make sure as you come down the hill, you want to straighten your hands. This is key. So when you come and you get your right wheel here and you're kind of parallel down the curbing, you want to brake a little earlier than you think, but you want to make sure you straighten your hands, threshold brake, turn in pretty early because it's banked at the bottom, and you want to make sure you don't miss this apex in 5 because that's your launch pad to go up the top of 6. Now on 5, you're going to miss it again. This is another corner back to back where you overshoot it because you broke too late. So this is perfect right there. Your hands are still turned to the right.
Yeah.
What you want to do here is
straighten them
perfectly straight. They're almost straight. Brake harder, harder, harder. You're full braking.
Yeah.
But I guarantee you locked up, you hit ABS.
Okay.
So we want to brake you
Threshold.
10 feet earlier. And then you would be able to hug this exactly. You just needed to be able to hug this, and then you would catch that guy so fast.
And I'm at the wrong angle. I need to be more like that than this. Okay.
You need a little more rotation, but you couldn't do it because the front end's locked up because of the braking. But now you shoot way too wide here, and then you have to slow way, way, way down in the 50s. Right? Now you recovered well. That's the perfect line there. You probably turn in a little more here. I'd rather have you rotate before you hit that, and then it's all about rotation again. You're kind of at the apex, but get aimed more that way.
Gotcha.
And hit your right front tire about here and be aimed a little more down there, and then you can commit more to full throttle.
And now I have traffic coming up in 8.
I think it's fine though. I think these guys go pretty fast. Okay, so now let's watch how fast you go. 140. Look at that. You barely slow down. And you slow down really gradually. This is a good tip.
I think I pooped my pants right there.
That was pretty fast.
Scary.
But I love that a lot of people freak out in this and they like brake. You should never brake before turn 8 unless something catastrophic in front of you. But you got your hands nice and straight. You smoothed out your hands. You had a very fast entry. You gradually reduce the throttle input. Watch your throttle go from full throttle, and then it's going to very gradually reduce. See that? It's really nice and smooth, and you attenuated it, and you held it, and then you lifted for a second, and then you picked it up. So you're kind of feeling for traction. Now you're all the way back up to 131. This is a corner where at this point right here, you want to start straightening your hands and start feeding in more throttle. So right here, you're way too low. Way too low.
Okay.
You want to be much where that white car is in front of you.
Okay.
Let's watch that line of the white car. That's kind of what you want to be doing, is now you want to go full throttle, let the car drift out, then straighten your hands, then brake.
So low.
And then you'll end up where he is. He's actually got a pretty good line.
His line.
Yeah. You want to be there. Yeah. Instead of really low to the right. Now you just
because now I got to turn too tight and pinch it off.
And you're going to overslow. Now you did kind of come back out again, which is kind of interesting.
Changed my mind.
But this is better right here. Yeah. You just could have stayed out.
The apex.
Yeah. And then that's good. That's good. And now look, you're going 98.
Okay.
So you've picked up the pace from your outlap. You're quite a bit faster. And then that's a great track out. You're hustling. And look at that. The Garmin will not lie. 124.47. And then this one's even faster. Your next lap, see how your speed only went down to 80 or so? It went to 77 on the previous lap. Okay. So you were better, even though you had a crappy line that time because you had a car on the outside of you. Yeah. You just carried more speed. So again, it's not about the line, it's about the limit. Okay. So that was a phenomenal lap. I think we learned a lesson or two.
I did.
I would predict if you put all of this together, the gains are going to be like up to a half a second per corner. I really do think you can get in the 122s.
I want a 118. Guy.
That'll be the next lesson. After you get to 122, we'll chip away at it. But if you get in the 122s, that's like, come on.
All right. You're a good coach.
Fine.
Thanks, B.
Thanks.
Love you.
All right.